Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to today's Hindu newspapers daily edition. So, first news that we have is about Adani Group looking to take over NDTV. So, naturally, if you want to take over NDTV, if you want to take over any company and control the management, you want more than 50% of the company's stake. Right? This has to be done. Now, much of the stake, around 26%, 29% had taken place without the knowledge of the NDTV company. So it seems like an hostile takeover, like without the permission of the NDTV or without NDTV wanting it, Adani has got into this. And they have made an open offer that we want to buy a 26% additional stake in your company. Why would Adani company like to control NDTV or own a stake in NDTV, which is making loss actually? So we had this thing previously also that NDTV is the health of the company is not very good. So why would they like to take ownership? The basic reason is obviously control, and this also raises the ethical concern about independence of media. So naturally, a company, any political party also, they would like to influence the media, so they form favorable opinions. So that may be the reason, which many believe it is. Okay, Sonia urges Gehlot to lead Congress. Fine. So let's see what is happening in the Congress. So this will keep continuing. Supreme Court may hear bail plea against remission in Bilkis case. Right. So Bilkis Banu case in association with the Gujarat riots that had taken place. So this gang rape incident had taken place. Okay. Remission. Remission is important. So what is remission over here? Right. This is important. And besides this, there are other terms also like suspension, remission, and commutation. So these are other terms that all you should also focus upon, and obviously from free perspective. So it's very simple. See, consider this case: a crime has taken place, an event had taken place, and a person has been held guilty. The court held that the person is guilty. The person has committed crime. Okay, after the trial. Suspension, when suspension term is used, it means delay in execution. Whatever punishment is there, delay in implementing that punishment. That is suspension. So let's say after the person is held guilty, that person should be given that punishment right away. So the delay, suspension, temporary delay, that is suspension. Remission. A person is already serving the punishment. A person is already serving the punishment, and so that punishment can be reduced. The term of the punishment may be, or the intensity can be reduced. So that is remutation, a remission. So in this case, these people who have gotten remission from the Supreme Court, so they have been in the jail from a very long time. So their punishment has been, I mean, they say it's a very long time, so it has been, the term tenure has been reduced. Then comes commutation. You had somebody was given life punishment, what do we say, a capital punishment, and that has been commuted to a lesser punishment, life imprisonment or anything, or somebody was given life imprisonment of 14 years and that punishment has been commuted, or rigorous imprisonment, and that has been, the intensity of the punishment has been brought down, a lesser punishment has been given. That is commutation. I hope these terms are clear: suspension, remission, and commutation. Okay. UGC chairman backs for machine-based admission test. Okay, there is one interview in the newspaper, so that I'm not doing, just basic. I think this is sufficient for us. And we should obviously know what is this UGC, what role does this UGC perform, and then comes the machine-based admission test. Okay, so UGC is basically responsible for coordination maintenance and regulation of higher education in India. And this is a statutory body, right? So this is a statutory body, that is, it is created by a law of the parliament. Okay. So this chairperson has said that in our country, in this huge population, there is always a scope that because there is always a human bias, maybe on the basis of one's caste, maybe gender, whatever reason, there is a bias, there may be a bias. So we can reduce the human element by having MCQ type tests, right? MCQ type test can be done. So naturally the result will come by the computers. So computer, this even if you do this manually also, this OMR sheets will give the result. So the human element is reduced. So whosoever gets more marks, that person should get selected. So machine-based admission test, that should be there. An example where machine-based admission test is not taking place, I think UPSC mains answer writing, civil services, the main examination that you have, civil services mains. Then we can talk about the interview test, personality test. So there is a human element. Okay. Right. So that's the basic thing. And I think no system is pure. Like I know some aspirants, so who may be, many actually, who may be good in their MCQs, but if you ask them to write something or express their opinion, they'll be bad. So they may not be the best fit for a particular role, like in civil services, etc. They may not be the best suited for that role. So it depends. I mean, a test cannot see everything. Okay, your personality may not be best suited. So let's see. Okay. Typical, something or the other is going on between the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and the Chief Minister, elected representative of Delhi. 9 women from Haryana, 1 each from Rajasthan and Delhi have joined the DTC bus fleet. So we are having women drivers over here, right? So an exceptional thing that has taken place. 15-year-old saves 6 lives through organ donation. Fine. So we have the issue of organ donation, and I think we can look at this issue that organ donation is very important. I mean, like somebody got a heart failure, they needed a heart, so the person's life was saved. And then there is the issue of organ scarcity, right? Not everybody, you have a heart issue and somebody has to die, and then you'll get the heart. There is a problem with that. So what needs to be done to rectify this issue? So one is obviously more awareness and more culture of organ donation should be there. Besides this, there are talks about harvesting of organs, using the pig organs or xenotransplantation. Xeno, the XENO, is basically animal organs being fitted into human beings. So this can be done, or genetically we can develop organs. So that scientists are working on that aspect also. So we have this thing. Yeah, remission does not mean they are not guilty. Naturally, why should it does not mean they are not guilty? Because remission meant that whatever tenure of punishment was there, that has been cut short. That's all. So this doesn't mean that you're not guilty if your punishment has been limited. You were guilty, of course. But only thing is your punishment, you were in prison for 14 years, 20 years, 25 years, that has been reduced. Yeah, so this thing is some scholarship thing actually in higher education. And here I found it the reference of a personality. On this historic day, we jointly launched Chevening Marang Gomke and Gomke Jaipal Singh Munda scholarship. So I actually looked up over here. So basically a politician. So important personalities associated with the state of Jharkhand. Okay, so there is a need to review remission, right? So this is there. We're not doing this actually. Don't think it's very, very important, but yes, some sort of regulation should be there as to who should be given, who should not be given. Some standardization should be there, as in this case, it seems an element of bias was there. I say it seems, okay. The case of India, the case of the missing scientific Indian. This seemed important actually. Honestly, when I was reading it, I thought I'll just skip it, but then I felt it was important. More so from the point of view of GS3, obviously science and tech mains. GS1, scientific temper and society. So society, social, scientific temper, society. Okay, so that one. And then I also thought about why not look at it from the point of view of essay writing. Maybe a statement is given like sports, which requires an athletic culture, science will flourish only if a scientific temper is generated. Something like this, and we are required to write 1250 words. How do we do that? So it came to my mind, and it suddenly seemed important from that point of view. Okay. So this article is saying that we need to propagate scientific literacy not only amongst the public. And this is, by the way, a fundamental duty under Article 51 of the Constitution. That is, it shall be the duty of citizen of India to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. So scientific temper is a fundamental duty. But also amongst scientists themselves. Why? I mean, scientists are supposed to have scientific temper, so why not? Right? They should be having that scientific thing. So we do not find Indians getting Nobel Prizes. We are very behind in that aspect, very few. So Nobel Prizes, especially in science. So that is not taking place. Why? Maybe we are having research scholars, but they're looking at fixed jobs. We want to work as professors. So that mindset is there, right? And many of them are actually, there is an engineering bias also. Less people are taking research. Less women are taking research again. And again, we can also look at it from this point of view. What should be done to encourage the participation of women in the STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Okay, so this is one aspect over here. So this needs to improve. Okay, so this is there. Then we have this, the science is not working upon focusing on social problems. So science related social problems, these are not being worked upon. Naturally, in our society, science should be looking at, the idea was the IITs, etc., that they address the social problems. So use of science to address the social problems. For example, I think one good example is satellites. So space-based intervention to weather forecasting, disaster management helps save lives. Right? So science-related social problems. And sometimes we hear very weird statements even from the scientific community trying to prove, weird statements that come, controversial statements that come from them, talking about evolution of human beings. It might have taken place this way, that way, right? Based on religion, trying to justify that. So somewhere we need to work on those lines also. Okay. So this needs to be done. I don't want to give into this aspect of pseudoscience is everywhere. So I don't want to give many examples over here. I don't want to get into trouble basically. Okay. The implications of the 5G rollout for law enforcement. This seems very important, and this has been taken up by UPSC mains. Cybersecurity is a very trending topic for the mains examination. When I say this, I mean every 3 years, 2 years, a question on cybersecurity is being asked. In fact, I think every year it is being asked. Okay. So now we have the 5G rollout. So high-speed internet, basically, very high-speed internet, hopefully in your mobile phones. So that would be there. So what are the implications? What are the pros and cons of 5G rollout for law enforcement? Right. So one is obviously with the 5G, we can have big data, better collection of data. So the one is this thing, better collection of data, then analysis of the data, artificial intelligence, the tools of the fourth industrial revolution, data analytics, data collection, data analytics, big data, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, all of this will help the government in maybe in regulating social media. A lot of opportunities do come up, and it will enable the law enforcement agencies also. Some examples have been given, like body cams, facial recognition, automatic number plate recognition, drones, CCTVs. I think when we drive, we see those cameras also everywhere, right? So automatic things are taking place. So this is good. But at the same time, this high-speed internet is also going in the wrong hands, and it could also be misused. And when I say wrong hands, I mean it is one, people who are having that knowledge, criminal knowledge, and they are intent on criminal activities. So they are doing this cyber attacks, botnet attacks, right? So all these attacks, denial of service attacks. So they are doing all this. And besides this, there is one more dimension to this, is that digital literacy in our country, the people, the common man in our country is not very well aware of best cyber practices, right? I see people, just click okay. They don't read what is happening. They give permissions on their mobile phones without knowing the pros and cons. And more of these services, more and more of these things are going digital. We are going into the digital economy. It is important that the people follow cyber hygiene, right? So these are certain challenges that are coming. Again, for terrorists also, terrorists can use high-speed internet, they can coordinate. I really don't agree. I mean, this is a good point for your answer writing, but I really don't agree. But this has been happening for a very long time. It doesn't matter high speed, slow speed. They can always do this. I think it is more in favor of the law enforcement, because they are the ones who are required to manage and regulate huge amount of data that is there. For them, it is more difficult. For them, I mean, terrorists, etc., WhatsApp message, Google Map coordination, it's not that difficult. Okay, but yes, emergence of cyber crimes, more people, more internet proliferation, more cyber crimes, digital this thing, like botnet attacks, denial of service, that is a new threat. Okay, what needs to be done? I didn't really like here, I'll just stop here, fighting new age crimes. So I am taking my own points. So one is the cybersecurity policy 2013, and every year, I think 2020, 2021, now 2022 also. So we have this national cyber security strategy. So we have a strategy paper which is looking at cyber security, but the only thing is that this strategy document is in draft stage, so it has not gotten government's approval. It's not been finalized. Right. So we need to have a policy. We need to have some sort of framework as to how the government would respond. That is the first thing. One of the things that the policy had said, that we need to have a digital army, we need to have a trained man force, especially inept, especially capable of managing the cyber attacks. They should be trained. So basically human resource, we need that. And this digital army thing was asked. Civil service policy 2013 directly was asked. Digital army thing was also asked. We need to make encryption. We need to work on encryption related thing, right? Communication can go from one place to another. It cannot be deciphered or heard by other people. That is encryption. So your WhatsApp, you must have seen it's double encrypted. Okay. So the law enforcement encryption is going to get much better with the 5G. So we need law enforcement or the government having that capability of having a balance of encryption, that is privacy and all, at the same time having the capability of intercepting critical data, which is crucial for public safety. We need to increase that capacity. Okay, we need a data protection bill. Data protection bill was taken out, so why not add this in our answer rating? So data protection bill, we need to consider the aspect of privacy. So these are very, very crucial elements that should be made part of law enforcement. There should be specific laws on that. It should be well defined. We need to augment the existing capabilities that we have to deal with cyber crimes. One of the things is computer emergency response team or cyber emergency response team. So this was in USA. So for India, we have CERT-N. So anything to do with cyber attack, monitoring that, all that, managing that, it is the responsibility of CERT. So we have existing institutions, we need to improve their capacity, we need to augment their capacity. Right. Then proposed ideas like social media hub, such things can be taken up. Some regional things you can take, like the initiative of Delhi Police on cyber, or Kerala Police Cyber Dome project. Again, that was asked in the mains examination 2019. Right. So this is it. And this is purely basically mains answer, perfect thing for your main system. Are freebies a way to mask state inaction? I think we can agree on that, right? People, developmental activities, progress is not taking place, not getting created. So why not give them tools to the people so that they vote you in some form of tools, in the form, and on purpose using this term, like subsidies, free LPG, electricity, so that people vote for you. But at the end of the day, it is the voter who suffers in the form of higher taxes or opportunity cost of less development. I think this is sufficient time. You want to read, you please by all means read this. Cost of war. So naturally war is taking place. First thing is people are dying, infrastructure is getting broken, right? Infrastructure is getting bad. There are people who are leaving that place, they're losing out on their opportunities, the refugees, and then getting back, rebuilding, reconstructing all that, it takes a lot of time and resources. Reinvigorating the CHABAHAR project. Right, so we have this minister of shipping who has gone. So we have some talks about the CHABAHAR project. CHABAHAR is based out of Iran. I have a video also where I've discussed the CHABAHAR diplomacy. So very early days of our channel, that time I have made this. Right, so in that I have explained every aspect of CHABAHAR over there. Okay, acculturation. I felt this was important from the point of view of GS1, so Indian society. So basic thing is that one is the rural. I've not read the article, but I can have some. Can give you some insights. Nevertheless, in a rural setup, people of the same community, people of the same culture are living together. When you move to the urban, like Delhi, Gurgaon, the metropolitan, cosmopolitan cities, when you go over there, you will find your neighbors would be somebody from Maharashtra, somebody from Punjab, right? You'll find people of different group, people of different caste, communities living together. And we inherit, during a course of interaction, we inherit others' culture also. So that is acculturation, right? So that is acculturation. And specifically with majority culture, it obviously remains the same. It's the minority that comes and they take over that part of the culture and tradition. For instance, I am a Sikh, I am a Punjabi, but for most of my life, I have been away from Punjab. I'll be speaking Hindi. I'll easily go to the temple and whatever things are to be done, will do it. Right. So it's part of that culture. I feel very normal in that setup overall. Right. So yeah, that's part of this thing. Okay. So sociologists understand acculturation as a two-way process wherein the minority culture adopts aspects of majority to fit in, and culture of the majority is also influenced by that of majority. Fine. So some examples have been given. Concept of acculturation. For example, the Urdu language, a blend of Arabic, Persian, Turkish, and Hindi, is a beautiful example of amalgamation of transmutation of cultures, right? So Urdu language is also known as the Khichdi language. So history people will know this. So Urdu is also known as the Khichdi language because it has the elements of, or military language, because the Delhi Sultanate people, they used to speak that. And so obviously they talk some were from Arabia, some were from Persian at that time, Turkish. So their language somewhat got mixed. with the local traditions of India, local language of India. Okay, these are important. Please don't overlook this. And this is a crater. It is the only crater to be named after the Carnatic musician. Which musician is this? I have not researched this, but please do this, right? Please do this. This is very, very important. Ashtapadis. Okay, now quickly, Adani Group makes bid. Okay, fine. We don't not interested. Please don't read and waste your time there. Okay, IF sacks 3 officers in missile firing range. So 3 IF officers, I think 1 group captain. Group captain is equivalent of a colonel, and 2 wing commanders. So this BrahMos missile, the supersonic missile, not hypersonic, supersonic missile that is more than the speed of sound. So this missile accidentally went into Pakistan. Fortunately, no casualty had taken place. Okay. So it came out, immediately investigation was done, and it came out that the standard operating procedures, whatever rules, setups are there, those were not followed, and that because of this, the missile got launched and were entered into Pakistan. Yeah, I mean, one is obviously the casualty could take place over that side. Other thing is technology. That thing also goes for no reason if they are able to reverse engineer. 6 ratio at birth normalizes slightly. Okay, so let's see what it says. It fell from 111 boys per 100 girls. So for every 100 girls, there were 111 boys in 2011. And for every 100 girls, there were 108 boys in 2019, 2021. Yeah. What does this indicate? Typically, it should be 50-50, boy and a girl, right? It should be, if you look at a huge pan-India figure, it should be around that much. So this is a very, very big this thing. So most likely it is, I mean, sex determination has been taking place. In 10 years, what happened that it dropped to 3 numbers. So sex determination, or we can also call it as missing woman, missing girl child. So that is taking place. And this is, here we have religion-wise breakup over here. So Christians and Muslims seem to have sex ratios close to the natural norm. So this is there. In sex, the population is around 2%, but they contribute around 5% of this missing number, right? So this they are doing. Majority community I could not find, and maybe it makes sense. 86% of the population, so we're not really looking into that. Technology companies vary of law on digital competition. They may be vary. Obviously, they will not like this, that a law is coming which regulates them, but it is very much required. Okay, so how do we know about this? So there is a standing committee on finance. So maybe a bill is there, and they are seeking the opinion of the technology companies that should there be a law, and if there is a law, what things should be there, or what reservations these companies have with reference to digital competition. Right, so this is there. These Apple, Twitter, all these companies had a critical this thing. They said that we are very, very small. It doesn't really affect. But we have European Union, USA, Britain. They are all making laws with reference to digital competition. So in European Union, we have the Digital Markets Act and Digital Services Act. Right. So this we have in USA. Again, we have something to do with digital markets. Britain also. Okay. I'll tell you something. I was not aware of this thing. We made our app. I have not hosted it on Google Play. One reason was that if you sell anything, 30% of that revenue goes to Google. And when I say Google, it means US. So current account deficit, remember? So any of these games that you buy, any of these digital things, like if you buy something from Amazon, no, or Zomato, no, because there is physical delivery of something. But when there is a digital this thing like game, etc., or any content you buy, 30% of that, if you buy it through an application, 30% of it will be going to Google or Apple. Okay, so this is, yeah, unfair activities that are taking place. This is forced because there is only one Play Store that is most of it for Google and Apple. Very few users are there. So this is again a wrong practice over here, abusing the monopoly in the market. Government organizers meet to iron out differences in labor codes. Fine. So what are these labor codes? There are, yeah, I think this was very, very good. I found this. There are like 44 labor related statutes, that is labor related laws, number of labor related laws, 44 of them in the central domain. So of these, 29 have been amalgamated. So most of the laws are reduced, they are brought together into 4 labor codes. Code on social security benefits of the people, code on wages, industrial relations code, and occupational safety and working conditions code. I think by the title itself, you can understand that code aspects related to salary or wages is under a different class, aspect related to safety and working conditions is into a different class. So 44 labor related statutes, laws. Imagine how much complication, how much difficulty it would be there. And if you want to change one thing, if you make a reform in one thing, but it is not in line with you have to change the other laws also. So there was a lot of, difficulties because of this. It makes doing business in a country very difficult because you have to abide by so many laws. So why not rationalize the laws and have fewer number of laws, but that are easy to implement. So code on social security, wages, these are the labor codes that have been introduced. Right, so yeah, I'll share it on the Telegram, read this, or any of this UPSC thing, you can find it. Yeah, what are the issues that they have? So this meeting was taking place in which there was the labor minister, 2-day meeting of labor ministers and labor secretaries of states and union territories. So secretary is the senior most bureaucrat, right? Not even state ministers, secretaries were there alongside the union. So union and states. This is an example of cooperative federalism, union and states cooperating. So labor codes have been introduced, but they are not being implemented. They have not been implemented because implementation is main task of implementation of anything is with the states. So the idea of this meeting was to bring about a consensus, evolve a consensus, all parties on board with the labor codes. So what all did they look into this? So they discussed modalities for implementation of the codes. They also looked into the aspect of having portals for licensing, registration, returns. So web portal on which things can be done. One doesn't have to go to the office, wait for your line and all those things. So that harassment they are saved out that. So that was one of the things. Then one of the concerns that they raised was with reference to industrial relations code. And the labor trade union parties don't like this also. They say that many of the things have been made easy. So the interest of the trade unions, labor workers has been compromised. Okay, anyways, so this is very, very voluminous. So that makes implementation difficult. Right, so here that's what these trade unions that are there, number of trade unions, they have opposed the codes. They want that they will resort to protest, and I think with the farmer thing that has taken place, that would embolden them. Okay, if you want a bias-free process, so this is the interview that I was referring to with reference to the UGC talking about machine-based test. Okay, this is important for prelims. Tensions mar a mission to Tiangong. What is Tiangong? It is the Chinese space station. So what tensions are there? So basically scientists from the Indian Institute of Astrophysics. So they wanted to conduct some experiments. So for that they had this thing known as spectrographic investigation of nebular gas, right? So some spectrometer was to be placed on this space station in Tiangong. So this is a new space station. It is much bigger than the International Space Station. So they wanted to place their sensors in the Tiangong over here. But then actually there is a concern that they are concerned that whatever they have made at this time, uh, this may not get implemented because of the tensions in the LAC. And why not add the Sri Lanka dimension also? So the spy ship of Sri Lanka, remember? A spy ship from China coming to Sri Lanka, India had made their opposition. Why can't the Chinese do it over here? So they have a concern with reference to this. So they say that we can do it with ISRO also, we can do with other agencies also, but everything requires additional cost, and this was the best fit for them. Okay, this thing, like I said, it is important for prelims. So what are the things, like what is this? Then besides India is partnering with which all countries? So in that light, so it is India, of course, the Institute of Astronomy, Russian Academy of Sciences, right? So India and Russia are also working on this thing. It's a kind of a joint initiative. DRDO, Indian Navy, tests indigenous missile. So indigenous means something that is made in a country. What missile? Vertical launch. So you can see the ship. Vertical launch, short range, surface to air missile. This cannot be important. This particular news cannot be important for prelims because the name of the missile has not been given. But you get it. I mean, short range is normally 20, 25, 30 kilometers. That type of thing is short range. And so this thing will go in the air, and it is to target the the fighter planes or whatever is going. This missile will hit them, should hit them, and also the sea hugging planes which are able to evade the radars. So that also will get targeted. Now this missile, since it is short range and it is tracking the enemy, like in the movies that you see, so this is kind of a cruise missile. Benami law can't be applied retrospectively. If you have studied polity, why? Can anybody tell me? This is YouTube, sorry. You have to read Article 20, and it's mentioned also Article 21 mandates. Right? You cannot be, you should not be convicted of an offense which was not in force. Right? So this is a criminal thing. It says that a person can be sent to prison for 3 years. So criminal aspect has been added when you're punishing a person for 3 years. If it was a civil law, if the punishment aspect was not there, if a person could not be imprisoned, then yes, the law could be brought in retrospectively, but not now. Okay, international news. Imran Khan summoned in contempt case. Iran drops some of its key demands for nuclear pact. Fine. So there is a talk going on with reference to revocation of sanctions on Iran, right? So the West revokes the sanctions on Iran. And what sanctions? I mean, why were the sanctions on place? The reason for the sanction was there was mistrust with Iran that they are making nuclear missiles, nuclear weapons program. So Iran was allowed to have their civil nuclear program. There was a deal that was done in 2015, which is known as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So in this, there was P5+1. And obviously, Iran was also part of the negotiations. So P5 is permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. +1 is Germany and Iran, of course. So the idea was that, okay, fine, we will allow you to have, for civil related works, you can use the nuclear technology. And yeah, it can be used. But it was found, and the investigation was done by the IAEA, International Agency, right? So for atomic energy, International Atomic Energy Agency. So they found traces of uranium traces at 3 undeclared sites. So this was the basic case, and because of this, some investigation, something was found, and Donald Trump, sometime in 2018-19, he reimposed the sanctions on Iran. Okay. Now what Iran has done is, Iran says, okay, fine, IAEA it was earlier saying that IAEA should not probe Iran into this issue. This should be dropped. Now they're saying, okay, you want to investigate, please do it. They have dropped this. And further, another demand was a key demand actually. US lifts its designation of the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps, so main security force of the Iran. That this has been declared by Iran. This has been declared by the US as a foreign terrorist organization. So this they wanted it to be dropped, but Iran is okay with both being there. So it seems like Iran is looking forward that this sanctions is revoked and normalization takes place. Trade gap to taper. Goods may hit $480 billion exports. So let's see what really happens eventually. Okay, Commerce Department being rejected to make it future ready. So we'll wait for that rejigging thing that takes, and then I think we should focus more. Service sector may drive growth. GDP growth expected at 13 to 15.7% at quarter one. Quarter one things, quarter wise not. Rupee worries force India's importers to hedge extra. So Indian importers, I think best indicator and better than RBI also, because since they are importing, they are spending more rupees per dollar. So they say that already the rupee has depreciated by 7.5%, and they expect, and presently it is at 80, they expect it to fall further to 82 rupees. So they want to, they want to protect their wealth and they are hedging. So hedging against what? That has not been given over here. Right, hedging is very simple. If you make investments maybe. So if you feel that the market will grow up too well, so you will buy this share markets, mutual fund, etc. But if you feel there is more risk, you may go and buy FD, etc. to save your money. Right? Because you get fixed return. So that is hedging. You move your money from here to here like that. That is hedging. So it's not explaining, it's not giving any example of how this hedging is being done. That's why I'm giving this mutual fund thing example, equity example. Right, then this concludes the newspaper for today. So thank you for streaming in to our channel, IASPrimers. Bye-bye.